Hey, ESPN, I'm Jack.
And I'm Miles from the Daily Zeitgeist, a daily comedic news podcast that answers the question,
what if Stephen A. Smith spoke at a normal volume and his opinions were based on fact and not completely insane? This probably isn't the best way to describe this.
No, you just negated the two things Stephen A. Smith is known for.
Okay, what if The Daily Show was hosted by us?
Yes, but who is us?
Okay, I'm Jack. I'm the co-founder of Crack.com.
And I'm Miles. I love soccer and get very nervous when I'm pulled over by the police.
He's also a former lobbyist who quit politics for comedy.
Yeah. Well, look, we covered news, the president, pop culture, and we're both very big sports fans.
I'm actually named after my grandfather, legendary NBA coach and ESPN alum Dr. Jack Ramsey.
Oh, yeah? Well, I'm named after Miles Davis, the legendary heroin addict who is not my grandfather.
So search the Daily Zeitgeist. If you don't know how to spell zeitgeist, like most of us, just type in Daily Z. It'll figure it out for you. On Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever fine podcasts are given away for free.
And now, Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio.
When I pop the trunk, head to death. Y'all pop the trunk, I pop the hood. Now act stupid, I'll pop the trunk. Now give me your boom.
He is Jalen Rose.
What up, dude?
I am David Jacoby.
And on the cool check-in.
And we are Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN2 and ESPN Radio. What do?
We get the people.
Yes.
What they want.
Huge weekend of college football. Big rumors with the Cavaliers and trades. But we have to start the show with this. Jalen Rose. Blake Griffin was photoed hanging out on the beach with a member of the Kardashian-Jenner clan. This one was Kendall. None of that matters. All that matters is it was super hot this weekend in Los Angeles, and dude was on the beach with skinny jeans on. Is that a soft move or a super soft move?
That's one of the softest moves of all time.
I would take my pants off and just go in my underwear. I don't know. I would do anything. Like, jeans are uncomfortable as they already constructed. It's an uncomfortable fabric. They're meant for work. And then you're going to go to the hot beach and then get the sand involved and there's holes in your jeans. This makes no sense to me. I'm concerned about the Clippers.
No sense at all. A couple of things. First and foremost, you're an athlete. You're in shape. The season is about to start, so I know you're training. You got injured at the end of last year. You're hanging out. You're having a good time. You didn't take our advice and run! You got your new contract. Congratulations. When you put on the glasses, you gotta lose the jeans.
You gotta lose the jeans. I don't know how you wake up in the morning and put jeans on in a 100-degree day in Los Angeles. It doesn't make any sense to me. And then you go to the beach, just the sand and the water. And if a big wave comes, then your jeans are wet around your ankles and they're skinny jeans. I'm very concerned about the Clippers, the future of Blake Griffin's career, all decisions that he has made up to this point and moving forward based on this one picture alone.
And here's the other thing. As you mentioned, if you're gonna be on the beach and wear your jeans, you got to at least roll them up.
You got to roll them up.
You got to
roll them up a little bit. You have to.
Number two, he took off his shoes and socks.
Yeah.
Like seriously, Blake, take off your pants, wear your drawers, no shoes and socks. You know the paparazzi following you.
I would go drawers. I would just go drawers and no shirt. Drawers and no shirt.
Man.
I would go, even with my bad body and all of that. Moving on to what's really important, though. What's really important is a very unsubstantiated, probably not going to happen rumor, but we're going to talk about it anyway, that Cleveland Cavaliers were discussing a trade with the New Orleans Pelicans that involved a gentleman by the name of DeMarcus Cousins, also known as Boogie! Now, I doubt that this would ever happen in the actual real world, but there probably were discussions that Amon Shumpert and the Brooklyn pick would go to New Orleans, and then Boogie Cousins would go to Cleveland. In my mind, that on paper makes no sense. I think it would take more to actually get Boogie to Cleveland, but the fact that they are on the phone discussing something means something, doesn't it?
It means for everyone who wonders how well the Cleveland Cavaliers did in their trade with the Boston Celtics, and you trying to gauge who won, you don't just gauge a trade based on Isaiah versus Kyrie. Mm-hmm. You pay attention to the rest of the assets that were in the trade. And while we talked about the Crowder, being an addition to play defense and make corner threes. And Zazic, a young big prospect that could possibly give us some size down low. I keep telling everybody the commodity was the next
Brooklyn pick.
Top pick that could possibly be the number 1 overall pick in the draft. And so now you're able to parlay that. And as you mentioned, it won't be just those guys.
That's just a starting point.
Kevin Love looks a lot better with Anthony Davis than Tristan Thompson would. So therefore, if that deal is to take place, it will likely be Kevin Love along with Iman Shumpert and the pick, and they'll do whatever it takes to make the money work. And to be honest with you, I like the deal for both teams.
So this is the beginning of a negotiation. You don't start the negotiation with where you think you will end up. You start with, hey, maybe they'll just take this. Iman Shumpert and the pick are not going to get it done for one of the best centers in the NBA right now. But Love, Shumpert, and a pick, and you're New Orleans, you say, we're basically trading Buddy Hield, Langston Galloway, and some other pieces for Love and Shumpert and a Brooklyn pick? That sounds really good. And you look at the other side of it, if you're the Cavaliers, you know, you have Jay Crowder that could bump LeBron up to the 4, and then you've got Boogie there, and then you've got Isaiah Thomas at point guard, and a mixture of J.R. Smith and perhaps somebody else coming in at the 2. That looks like a team that could potentially challenge the Warriors, doesn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely. And also, you don't do deals only for what it's going to do presently. Now, all of a sudden, you put yourself in a position, even if LeBron leaves, you can re-sign Isaiah Thomas and Boogie Cousins. In the Eastern Conference, they'll be perennial all-stars, and they'll be able to make waves on their own. 2 guys who played together once with the Sacramento Kings.
Our man Dave McMenamin.
Many.
He is reporting this very same thing, that with the addition of Crowder, perhaps Love is again on the trading block. Is it me, or has Love been on the trading block for a decade?
Yep. Here's what happened with the Kevin Love situation in Cleveland. It was a win-win for all sides. He was getting big numbers in Minnesota. He came to Cleveland, ingratiated himself with the team. Yes, his numbers took a hit on the floor overall, but he still got his top dollar. He won a championship. He showed he could be a contributing player and an all-star level performer on a winning team. Now you put him back in the Western Conference next to Anthony Davis, who I think his best position in today's game is center, which is why you do the trade for Boogie if you're Sacramento, because as you mentioned, y'all going to trade us who? Like, hurry up. It don't even have to fit. It don't even have to fit. Just send Boogie over here.
Yeah, whatever it takes.
We're worried about it later.
We'll fly in private, whatever it takes.
No doubt. During All-Star Weekend, all good. And so now you put Kevin Love and Anthony Davis. That's a really formidable 4-5 situation happening. I really like it for both teams, and I like it for Boogie. Do you know how dominant DeMarcus Cousins would be in the Eastern Conference?
And if you think about LeBron James' career, who's the best center that he's played with? Like Ilgauskas? Like, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. Like, he's not played with, like, a formidable low-post threat. I'm just not sure.
No, hit the brakes. We're not going to start talking bad about LeBron's super teams, James teammates. We're not going to do that.
Oh, come on now.
We're not going to do that.
You're going to take Haslam? Is that what
we're
you're
not
go?
doing that. He had Chris Bosh, and Chris Bosh is going to the Hall of Fame. He's a stretch 4 that gave him rebounding and points. He had Dwayne Wade on the perimeter. He's had Kevin Love.
Okay.
He's had Kyrie Irving. Okay, so how about this? He played with Shaq once in Cleveland.
Oh, that wasn't Shaq. He was like 650 pounds back then. He couldn't even run.
I'm about to text Diesel right now. It wasn't me, big fella.
Go ahead and text him. He doesn't have my number. He's not even following me on Twitter. Well, I can say whatever I want about Shaq.
Shout out.
Blue Moon is brewed with Valencia orange peel and a touch of coriander. It's a creative twist on a Belgian-style wheat ale for a taste that shines brighter. Taste responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Jalen Rose, fantastic football weekend this weekend. The opening weekend of college football. Exciting games, huge upsets, big matchups you don't usually see in the opening day weekend. You know where I'm going to start? I'm going to start with Michigan because I know you watched it. I watched it. I watched Michigan, rooting for Michigan just for this program, just because of our relationship.
Thank you, family.
I was also watching to make sure that Florida could actually field a team because they suspended like 35 people. And it looked like they suspended 35 people. But I will say this is there were not a lot of returning starters on the defensive side of the ball for these Michigan Wolverines, and it certainly didn't look like that was a problem week 1 against Florida. What did you see?
And I'll take the contrarian side of our collegiate football updates because I know you're really enthusiastic about a lot of things you saw. So with these matchups, I'm going to talk about some of the things that were either head-scratching or concerning to me.
Okay.
I was initially concerned that my Michigan Wolverines allowed Florida to drive and get a field goal when we first kicked off the football.
Mm-hmm.
I was really concerned that their 2 touchdowns were both off pick sixes.
Yeah. That opening field goal was the only points that the Florida offense would score the entire rest of the day. But when you look up the scoreboard, Michigan was losing. 2 pick sixes back to back. And they weren't exactly like great plays by the defense either. Some bad throws. But the Michigan defense was fantastic. They were stout. They gave up. It just seemed like every third down they stopped them and they got the ball back. That game wasn't as competitive and as good as I wanted it to be, although I did want Michigan to win. Also another game I was excited to watch that wasn't as competitive as I wanted it to be. Alabama-Florida State. First thing I want to recognize is the Florida State quarterback, Francois. He was playing great. Like, he was throwing the ball into tight windows. Like, he was throwing great passes left and right until he got injured.
And if you glance, he looked like Cam Newton.
A little bit he does. He looked like, but Cam Newton wished he threw passes into these windows the way this kid was. But he went down, and Alabama just did what Alabama does, which is they completely dominated. They only gave up 7 points to the number 3 ranked Florida State. Are you penciling or are you penning in Alabama to the National Football Playoff?
It almost becomes a rite of passage to do so, but a couple of chinks in their armor did play themselves out in the game. One, they lost 2 linebackers due to injury for the rest of the season.
Yep.
And I have to say this. The last couple of games, the championship last year and week 1 this year, Jalen Hurts has been struggling.
A little bit.
96 yards passing, 53 on one play.
But they also didn't need him. You know what I mean? Like,
You
they didn't
always
need him
need
to
your
throw the ball.
quarterback.
They didn't need him to throw the ball is what I'm saying. Like, once they got ahead and it was pretty clear they had the Florida State offense on lock, it just didn't feel like they needed him to throw the ball around the field. And he still looked pretty good running the ball.
You know when you don't need your quarterback to throw the ball? It's when you think he's going to throw it to the other team.
Can I ask a white guy question?
Sure.
He's got dreadlocks, but he's also got a lineup, and there's like an inch between his hairline and his first dreadlock. What's going on there?
Oh, they call those extensions.
Extensions or edges, I believe?
Yeah, because think about it like this. When you have that much hair, and clearly I don't, I'm pretty sure it's not even all the way around. And so in order to make it even, that's how you do it.
Okay.
As much as possible. And you want to have a crisp lineup.
Those were the 2 marquee games of the weekend. But the best game to watch as someone who doesn't have a dog in the race, UCLA, Texas A&M.
Wow.
I mean, you were looking up at I was just happened to be at an establishment playing my Golden Tee game. You know, it's Golden Tee for life. I got the player's card and everything. Consistent. Got an hour away from my wife and kids to check in on this football game, play a little Golden Tee. And Texas A&M was up a lot. I mean, they were up a lot, but it still felt like with Josh Rosen, he was throwing the ball all over the place. And, he had a couple passes that should have been intercepted by A&M that weren't. But it didn't feel like it was his day until the fourth quarter. And in the fourth quarter, he just turned it on. Josh Rosen had 292 passing yards and 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Hold on a second. 292 yards and 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. But this feels like one of those games, if you're an NFL fan, you look back on, you're like, oh, great performance by Josh Rosen. But you didn't see the game. Like, he didn't look great the whole time.
And also, a couple of those were, Hail Mary, come with me. Like, two of them went between the defender's arms.
Like, went between his hands, yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute. At the end, the defense looked tired. Did they think they was about to spike the ball? Everybody was just looking around when they got the last score. But the person I feel worse for, Kevin Sumlin.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a guy that came into the season and the university already talked about his job security.
2 more years left in his contract.
He gains a big lead. They lose the second largest lead in FBS history. And then one of his regents gets
Busby.
on Facebook.
You got Busby out here tweeting fire someone and this and that. I feel like if I was Kevin Sumlin, I'd pull aside and be like, let me show you a play. This ball just goes right through this young man's hands, okay? If he catches that ball, we win the game. That's not my fault.
What do you expect me to do?
Like, that's not on me. I can't catch the ball. I can't intercept the pass for the team, okay? I put him in position to make a play. He doesn't make a play. You can't put that on me. Please.
And if they do let him go, he's going to get scooped right up with the quickness.
Another thing I want to say is the Tennessee-Georgia Tech game, which was, again, is a late game on Monday night. It was our version of Monday Night Football. Fantastic game, back and forth. But it did show me something, that while it is not perfect, college football overtime rules are far superior to NFL overtime rules. It was exciting. They went back and forth. It came down to a 2-point conversion, which came down to maybe it hit the ground, maybe it didn't. It was a fascinating game, and the whole time I was watching it, I was thinking to myself, it would be so much more fun to watch if the NFL had these overtime rules.
And don't sleep on Taquan Marshall, 249 yards and 5 TDs. He's out there looking like me.
He looked good.
Street football.
He looked great. Now, you said that Francois looked like Cam. But you know who looked like Cam? Kalen Newton, Cam's little brother, who plays for Howard. Now, I read this, and I was fascinated by this, because I never really get into all the finances of how these games work, but UNLV was a heavy favorite against Howard. They actually paid Howard $600,000 to match up against them. Howard's like, we don't really want to take this game. What does that L do for us? How does that help us? UNLV says, you know what? We'll give you 600 racks to come play us. Not only did they get the $600,000, they got a 43-40 victory. One of the biggest underdog victories, the biggest upset against the spread ever, according to Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. Kalen Newton, looking like his brother Cam, had 140 yards passing and 190 rushing with 3 total touchdowns. What do you make of that game, Jalen?
I appreciate the fact that being the sibling of Cam Newton, the expectations are going to be high on you just because of your brother's name.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a humbling process for him out of high school, being a 3-star recruit, that he didn't get offered any scholarship.
Yeah, it's got to be hard when your brother is so celebrated.
And your brother just an MVP that just played in the Super Bowl a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm. And he played at 2 huge programs in college, not just one.
And so I appreciate what he said about the opportunity to go to Howard. He was like, Dad said I'm going to Howard, so that was it. They didn't have a coach or nothing.
Yeah.
So he's like, all right, I guess we was going to follow the word, and that's what it was going to be, and it worked out.
Some tells me my kids won't listen to me like that, but continue.
So he's like, my dad said I'm going to Howard, so that's where I was. They didn't have a coach or anything.
Final game I want to discuss, Texas, new head coach Tom Herman.
Wow.
You know, they're playing against Maryland.
Wow.
Heavy favorites.
Wow.
Scott Van Pelt's Maryland Terps pull off the upset 51-41. And I love what Herman said after the game. He's like, it's not like we can just show up and in 9 months sprinkle a little fairy dust in this program and all of a sudden turn around. It was actually like, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Herman. That's exactly what you were hired to do. That's like, we hired you for the fairy dust. We came here.
Question.
You were brought in and paid all these millions of dollars because we thought you had fairy dust you could sprinkle on the program. You should have told us that in the interview. There's a lot of news out there. Some of it is worth discussing. Some of it is just disgusting. It's great work by me coming up with that one.
I like what you did there,
We
sir.
filtered through the differences. If it is worth discussing, we will hit the brakes and break it down. If it's not, we'll just simply keep it moving. Jalen Rose, keep it moving or hit the brakes. Terrell Owens is going to be on Dancing with the Stars.
I'm happy for T.O. Keep it moving. I saw his IG post.
You're on IG now? What? Keep it moving or hit the brakes. Adrian Peterson says he wants to stick it to the Vikings.
Hit the brakes.
He said, in my mind, we're starting and ending the season in Minnesota. Of course I want to stick it to them. I want to stick it to everyone we play. But going back to Minnesota to play the Vikings?
Future Hall of Famer. Yep. Had his best of days there, in particular on the field, where he put up historic numbers. Became an all-time great back. Hit some lows where he questioned whether the team was in his corner when he hit the turbulence after disciplining his kids. And ultimately, when you're not with the squad no more, that both sides have given so much to one another, it does become personal. This is why when players go back and play against their former teams and or people play against those that they don't like, I always tell media members and I always tell fans, it's not like the same when you're playing against your good friend. It's not the same when you're playing against the squad and or the team that did you so well. It's just the opposite, and he is going to have some extra juice in his legs when he's running through the tackles against that squad. But they got a staunch defense. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, the Vikings are pretty good. The Vikings defense is pretty serious this year.
No doubt.
Next. Buccaneers coach Dirk Koetter says that they're taking Jay Cutler very seriously. What? Keep it moving or hit the brakes. They said he's Joe Namath to us. He compared Jay Cutler to Joe Namath and wasn't kidding.
What? I understand that you don't want your team to let its guard down when they're playing against Jay Cutler like it's Ben Roethlisberger or Drew Brees. I get that. But we see through you when you're being phony. And so just say what it is, allow us to be professionals, and put up the picture of him when he was on vacation. Put up some video of him when he did his press conference. And then you tell your defense, Gerald McCoy, go get that guy.
Yeah,
TJ Ward, get you a pick against that guy. Yep.
Brock Osweiler says his first day back with the Broncos was, quote, incredible, end quote.
Hit the brakes.
Do you know why it was incredible? I'll tell you why it was incredible. He got paid $16 million to leave the Browns. All right? To leave the Browns. They said, do you know what? They're businessmen. They're like, all right, we can have Brock Osweiler and $16 million, or we can not have Brock Osweiler and not have $16 million. Yep, we'll go with plan B. Like, that is ridiculous.
And also, you get to go back to the scene of the crime if you Brock. It's like, y'all really wanted to sign me.
Yep.
People talk about me like y'all didn't want to sign me. Y'all offered me a deal. Mm-hmm. And I left for more money. And you know what y'all thought y'all was going to do? Y'all thought you was going to place me with these two guys? That's what y'all really thought? Y'all went and drafted these guys, thought they was going to replace me? I went and got my bread. Now I'm back. And I'm about to be playing over both of these guys. Who's stepping and who's fetching?
If I was Brock Osweiler's like really close high school friend, I'd pull him aside, give him a couple beers and a couple shots. And after that, I would say, hey, Brock, let's talk about your financial planning. Let's really be smart about this $16 million check you just got from Cleveland, because there might not be too many more coming back in. Like, your ex-girlfriend picked you back up because she's familiar with you, but there weren't too many suitors. There wasn't too many ladies lining up around the bar for you right now. So let's get on the call with your financial planner tomorrow, and let's just talk through how we can make this $16 million take you and your family through a couple generations, because that might be the end of it. Next, Lonzo Ball is set to appear on Fuller House. Okay, first of all, you made me hit the brakes before I even finished, which I absolutely love about this, because the headline is, he's set to appear on Fuller House. Do you know what Fuller House is?
I will after LeVar Ball appears on there. That's why they have him on.
It's Lonzo Ball, first of all. Do you know what Full House is?
The television show, 90s?
Great call. And then they did a remake of it with the same people they brought back, and it's called Fuller House. And even the people like me that grew up watching every single episode of Full House, no one's watching this. Nope. Why is Lonzo Ball showing up to this?
How much? Where?
Exactly.
In
But
LA?
now it's almost like you'll pay homage to the great sitcoms of the 90s, and then you will not pay homage to the great MCs in the 90s. Come on, Lonzo. Nope. Come on, Lonzo.
Get off the bandwagon.
Would you like to hear some lobster news?
Hit the brakes.
A ghost lobster was hauled from the ocean off of Maine.
What?
Do you want some more details?
You're not about to have me scared of lobster. It's just going to make me more intrigued.
Maine lobsterman Alex Todd hauled in blue lobsters and even some lobsters that were half blue, half orange. But he said those don't compare to the scale of weirdness that the translucent crustacean that he pulled up in a trap. I saw the picture of this. It looks like it was like not an albino lobster, but kind of like a glow-in-the-dark lobster. You know, glow-in-the-dark stuff? You got to hold on to the light for a while, and then it turns. It looked like one of those. Again, it's all going to come down to this. Would you eat the ghost lobster?
No, I'm good.
Oh, this is the first time you've ever said you would not eat a lobster. You would not eat the ghost lobster.
What? You attached ghost in front of it.
What if it was a lobster that looked like Ghost from Power?
That's very nice. Let's talk about Power.
No, let's not talk about Power. Because you do not respect spoilers, Jalen. Every time you start talking about these shows, the people always tweet me, how are you going to let you ruin the episode for me? Last time you said let's talk about Power, you literally talked about Power and Power only without me saying a single word for like 8 minutes on ESPN Radio. That's why I love this show.
Shout out.
More lobster news. Extremely rare yellow lobster has been donated to the Boston Aquarium. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
Keep it moving.
More lobster news. Maine lobster named Passy Pete predicts a longer summer. Keep it moving or hit the brakes.
Hit the brakes.
Passy Pete the lobster. He's a lobster, and he's kind of like the Puxatawny Phil, but he's, wait a second. Passagassawakag River. First of all, something tells me that's someone joking. Like a lot of times these rivers and these names are from Native American sayings. You know, I grew up in the region, and a lot of towns are named after Native American tribes, and they kept with the traditional names. But if it starts with Passagassa, something tells me someone's kidding. You know what I mean? Like Passagassa doesn't seem like that's real. But Passagassawakag.
If it's Passagassa, that means they've never been around Jacoby in the studio.
That's not fair. Finally,
I farted in the studio.
Great. You know what? That's the first time we've ever aired that.
I farted in the studio.
That's the first, and so people play that back for me all the time, and it's always off wax. We've officially broken down the fourth wall here on Jalen and Jacoby.
I farted in the studio.
I'm so upset about this. No holds barred. Everything's out in the open now. Everything's on wax now. Everything's on wax. I'm upset. We're ending the segment.
I farted in the studio.
Yes, Reg!
Blue Moon is brewed with Valencia orange peel and a touch of coriander. It's a creative twist on a Belgian-style wheat ale for a taste that shines brighter. Taste responsibly. Blue Moon Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Jalen, Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald is reporting that the Miami Heat and the Los Angeles Lakers are potential destinations for Dwayne Wade if he were to be bought out by the Bulls. We already have him on the Cavs roster. Is there any chance he goes to Miami or Los Angeles?
He not with the Cavs yet?
He's not officially yet, no.
Oh, no. Here's the thing, and I love Barry. And obviously he's doing a really good job of trying to stay on top of the story.
Whenever Jalen says he loves you, he's about to say something mean.
You got to pay attention to Dwayne Wade's interest at this point of his career. And of course, it's great to be in Miami with the South Beach allure, where they're going to give you a statue one day and you won 3 championships. Awesome to be in LA for the palm trees, low riders, and the movie stars. Shout out. But no championship rings are happening in either one of those cities next year.
No.
For the conference or for the league.
No.
And
maybe not even the division.
Since he's going to get a big check to lead the Chicago Bulls, at that point it's going to be proven ground. And what better place to do it than rolling with LeBron James in Cleveland?
If he were to go to the Lakers, we know what that means.
That means
know
LeVar
exactly
Ball gonna have him wearing big baller
what that
brand
means.
shoes.
No, if he were to go to the Lakers, that means LeBron James already has a locker in that locker room. Like, it already says James on it and everything. Got a bunch of purple and gold jerseys and team-issued stuff with his name on it. I don't see him going back to the Heat, though, because if I remember, I do remember correctly, didn't exactly go great between him and Pat Riley at the end there. Neither one of those seems to be like the olive branch type, to be honest with you.
I remember a visual being in Miami Airlines Arena, Christmas Day. LeBron James returned to Miami. And of course, he and Dwayne Wade are thick as thieves, and rightfully so. They were sitting on the scorer's table, wearing opposite uniforms, pulling their jerseys up over their mouths, and sharing jokes with one another. And while the cameras and everybody were so enamored at watching these two Hall of Famers enjoy their time on the floor together playing basketball, you know what I did? I was like, where's Pat Riley? I looked over in the stands to see how Pat was taking all of this in. And all I know was he wasn't smiling.
No, he wasn't.
He didn't think that was cute at all. And you know, the first thing I came out and said, that's going to be an issue. And before you know it, neither one of them ended up with the team.
Jalen Rose, it was a fascinating and exciting weekend of college football. But the most exciting thing that happened in college football this weekend was not on the field, it was on the bench. In Miami, if you're on the defense and you force a turnover when you get to the sidelines, they give you this big dookie chain, like Slick Rick style, with the U logo encrusted with jewels. I love it so much. When you saw this, what did you think?
Finally, they're getting back to the U heritage. Everybody that knows me understands that, yes, I'm maize and blue, but I also root for the U. And so somewhere, Benny Blades, Warren Sapp, Michael Irvin, Ray Lewis were like, thank you. We recognize you guys again.
It was one of those ideas like Wheels on Suitcases where it was like, I cannot believe this hasn't happened before. We need to expand on this. This idea is scalable. So, Jalen, me and the staff got together, and we came up with some other incentive-based reward systems for other sports. We just want to see whether or not you like them. Are you ready?
Adrian James was so enthusiastic watching this. Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, good. First, in the NFL, we have the go-ahead touchdown eye patch. It's just wear it when you're off the field. It's a good eye patch. Your thoughts?
I think it's corny because you just referenced Slick Rick and then the next one had an eye patch. I'm not rolling.
Okay. In Major League Baseball, you're Giancarlo Stanton. You hit a dinger. 2-run homer. You come back to the dugout. They have a fur coat waiting for you to put on. You rolling with that?
I hope our program didn't sell out. You know you got to give Carlos Stanton a nice bed for him to lay out on and present the visual you can Google.
I obviously talk about the Lexi Pantera video. If you haven't seen it, perhaps you can Google it, do some research, educate yourself in the world of sports and pop culture. Next, in the NFL, this one I love. In the NFL, if there is a fight, which is okay, you can do that in this sport. If in the NHL, I apologize, got excited. If there is a fight, the winner of the fight doesn't go to the penalty box. They go to the luxury penalty box. Your thoughts, Mr. Rose?
I like that one. That's the one I'm actually rolling with. And for whatever reason, it's taboo to fight in the NFL or the NBA. But it's perfectly accepted in Major League Baseball and in the NHL. Is that cultural?
That's not just factually incorrect. It's kind of disrespectful to the MLB. It is not okay to fight. There's suspensions and there's fine. The NHL, it is okay to fight. Race has nothing to do with this. Next, in the NBA, if you get 8 straight field goals, the game stops, and you are given betrothed with the golden do-rag. Are you rolling with that?
Only if it's somebody that either is like Sheik Luch, wearing a do-rag under their fitted when they don't want waves, or somebody like LeBron who's trying to do so many different things as it relates to trying to keep his hairline intact. But more importantly, it's another item for the league to sell.
I just
We're
love this.
trying to give y'all a free product, make money.
If someone has 6 straight field goals, like Steph Curry's heating up, like the announcers be like, he's only 2 shots away from the golden do-rag. The fans start standing up after the 7th straight field goal. But the problem is it would be DeAndre Jordan every time. You know what I mean? It would always be a center that just dunks. Like, I can't poke holes in this one. All of this is just a brainstorm. They say there's no bad ideas in a brainstorm, but I think there's at least 2 bad ideas in that brainstorm. We'll work on it. We'll get back to you, Mr. Rose, and you, our viewers and listeners. Next, we have this brand new Cavalier, not yet Boogie Cousins, brand new Cavalier, Isaiah Thomas, was pictured at his locker. Right there in the Cavaliers locker room, just sort of showing off his new home and where he would stay. And you know that we are detail-oriented here. We have a lot of questions that we want to ask you, someone who has actually been into an NBA locker room. First question is, if you just got there, you just showed up, this is the first time you've ever been there, how do you already have a huge bag of dirty laundry? How do you already have a huge bag? Did you bring laundry from home that you want the Cavs staff to do for you? Is that what happened?
Hit the brakes. I love you so much.
No, you don't. You're about to say something mean.
That is not dirty laundry. That's team issue gear. If he decided to go shoot baskets, it's shorts.
Then fold it up for me.
Top.
Don't put it in a mesh bag.
It's tights. It's socks. You put it in that bag so that they can stay organized when they're washed.
I always put all of my folded clothes into a big mesh bag when I want them to stay organized. Next, is this binder, is that the playbook? What's in the binder?
That looks like a playbook, but what happens when the game starts, just give it to LeBron. Kyrie did all of these things, and we want you to do those things too. But more importantly, he's going to be out for the first portion of the season, so that playbook is going to change a lot.
Yeah, a lot. And next we have this is like, you were talking about this team-issued gear, and I really thought the haul would be a lot bigger than like a couple of shirts on hangers. Like, is that all the team-issued gear that you get?
Well, he's not playing. That's how it works. It's a dirty game.
So you'll be showing up in suits. I guess we don't need to give you any warm-up clothes or anything like that. You don't even need sneakers. Get that hip right. And then finally, can we get this type? They had the nice business chairs for your desk with the Cavs logo on it. Like, can we get that for the studio? Can we get logo chairs for the studio? Staff, anybody? No?
We can't get mugs on the table. You talking about chairs?
Finally, who is the Cavalier with the Mr. Met head in their locker? Like, who's going to spend valuable locker real estate on a gigantic Mr. Met head? John Wall said that he was the best two-way point guard in the league. I have a lot of follow-up questions about this. But first is, what was your initial reaction when you heard that?
So, a lot of times when you attach labels to something and you're talking about yourself, you're usually doing it to make you look and sound better.
Exactly. Like, you shouldn't have to put a qualifier on it, but continue.
So, we don't say Kawhi Leonard may be the best player, which arguably he's one of the best 3 players with KD and LeBron, in my opinion. We say he's the best two-way player because we figure he plays better defense than LeBron and KD.
Exactly.
So with that being said, what John Wall did here actually made me think about something. For whatever it's worth, last year, he took that mantle from Chris Paul and became the best two-way player in the game as a point guard.
I don't really like qualifiers like this. I use them all the time in my professional life. You know, like we all write that email where I'm like, Jalen and Jacoby is the most popular show. If you combine their TV ratings and the audio, you know, it's just like we can all qualify ourselves to make us seem like we are more or less than we are. But if you have a goal, his goal is not to be the best two-way point guard in the league. His goal is to be the best point guard in the league. And until you reach that, you probably shouldn't be bragging about yourself. Like, I just don't like the qualifier on it. But if you want to go down that lane, I would probably take CP3 over him. I would.
Those are the two that come to mind. And by the way, it's hard to say you're the best point guard in the game when one just won the MVP and averaged a triple-double.
And most of the great point guards are in the other conference, so you don't really see them that many times.
And Steph Curry's only been MVP twice.
Exactly.
Won a championship.
Breaking records everywhere. And also, like, it's great that you put value in defense and effort into defense, but there are probably, I'm going on top of my head, 4 point guards I would put ahead of you right now? Maybe 5? Two of them are on the same team?
Basically, what he was saying is, out of all of the top point guards, I'm a better defender.
That's what he said. That's what he said.
And I also get you numbers. But one thing that gets underestimated about John Wall, and I don't know if I put 4 or 5 point guards over him.
I'll name them right now. Russell Westbrook, Steph Curry, Chris Paul, Kyrie Irving, James Harden.
I don't see James Harden as a point guard, which is why they got Chris Paul.
He played point guard last year. That's all I know. Last time he was on the basketball floor, he was a point guard.
He's a primary ball handler.
Sure.
But if you take Harden off, who would you put on then?
John Wall.
Okay.
There you go.
So it's not far-fetched.
No, it's not. No. But you go from top 5 to top 1 by saying two-way player. It's like, okay, guess what? Kyrie Irving and Steph Curry don't play defense. That's fine, but they don't really have to. That's not what they're there for.
And I have to ask you another question.
Okay, Mr. Rose, please do.
If you polled NBA players and or GMs, I don't think it'd be a landslide the way you think that people would take Kyrie over John Wall.
I think that's fair. I think that's very fair. But, you know, I was going off the top of my head, and I came up with the end of the names. And I would probably say that Kyrie and John Wall are neck and neck. But it is interesting to think that Kyrie and John Wall are the only two that are in the Eastern Conference, and the others are out west. I just wanted to recognize that friend of the show, Amari Stoudemire, has retired. He's retired. You know, I wish him the best moving forward, you know, at this new stage of his life. I just want him to find happiness and peace in whatever he chooses to do next. You know, because it's a difficult transition in this period of your life when basketball has defined you for so long, and you have to look in the mirror and really say, like, what is it that I excel at besides basketball? Is hitting on women that have boyfriends. Okay, moving on. Moving on. James Harden promises to never leave Houston after he donated $1 million to assist with Hurricane Harvey relief effort. We really appreciate that level of a donation is unprecedented, and whatever you can do in your own way to help the Hurricane Harvey relief is important. But I want to point at the other part where he said that he will never leave Houston. Jalen, should he be careful before he says something like that?
Yeah. I've learned to separate church and state. So, as somebody that prides himself on being philanthropic, and obviously the horrific natural disaster that the people of Houston and surrounding areas are dealing with, I applaud everyone's enthusiasm to get involved and help in a positive way, whether it's donating their time, their energy, or their money. It's also one of those things, the next time you tell an athlete or entertainer to shut up and stick to sports, it's not just relevant when you talk about politics. It's all relevant in situations like this when you see people like J.J. Watt and so many others that have donated and have contributed. Now, with that being said, James Harden was told he wasn't leaving Houston when he got that $200 million deal.
Yeah, that's going to be up in 5 years, and you can get traded at the end of it. Like, things always happen in business. Like, nothing is for certain. It's in business. It's not called show friends. It's called show business. So, like, to say, I never want to leave Houston. I want to lead the rest of my career here. But to say I will never leave Houston, you might get caught up in the moment a little bit, Mr. Harden.
I got Tom Brokaw on the line. Hold up.
Oh, what does Tom Brokaw have to say?
He was telling me the way that James Harden came up with the amount that he was going to donate.
How was that?
It was the amount that he spent in the strip club. Well, thank you for that breaking news.
You're the best. Jalen Rose, The Rockets are going to be sold for $2.2 billion. Leslie Alexander, I believe in 1997, bought the Rockets for $85 million.
Wow.
And it is now $2.2 billion. But you know what's really disappointing about this? And I want everything to go well for Houston. Like, there's just, like, no city needs us more than Houston right now. Beyonce's got to be involved. This gentleman made all of his money with the restaurant conglomerates. His whole family's rich. And the thing about it is he said to TMZ Sports that he wanted Beyonce to be involved somehow. But come on, you can't give Beyonce a little piece. She can get 1%. Give her a front row seat. Have her come to games, something. I want Queen Bee involved.
All I know is this. Now, I'm starting to get tired of seeing all of the brothers getting a chance to be owners of the team, but it's 1%. Unless your name is Michael Jordan. What's up with that?
I don't see race. Next, football season open this weekend in New Brunswick, New Jersey. The newly sort of exciting Rutgers football team, not exactly a historically great franchise, but they've had some years of late. They have hot tubs in the student section. Soft move or boss move? Hot tubs in the student section.
That's not smart.
That's bad.
That's all bad. First off,
I have so many questions.
First off, it's not the cleanest setup, the most sanitary situation.
No, and hot tubs, I always question the hot tub sanitation as well.
2, collegiate students with adult beverages, there will be leakage in the water.
Every time you get in a hot tub, it says do not combine inside the hot tub and adult beverages.
Also, man, don't you think that there will be students that are trying to have sexual encounters?
Well, that didn't come to mind. What really came to mind was something much more practical to me, is that might be cool on September 2nd. But when it gets in the middle of December and January, like you're going to be wet getting out of the hot tub. Where do you put your swimsuit when you're done? Is there a changing room? Like you can't go from unless you're like at a ski lodge, it's hard to go from super cold winter into the hot tub and then back out and not completely freeze.
And it's the geography part of it. It's not like it's in Florida or Texas or California. It's in Jersey.
Like I get it when you have, what's the baseball stadium that has the little the soaking pool?
Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yeah, it's the Arizona Diamondbacks. I like that. It's going to be hot in Arizona. It'd be fun to kind of watch the game from the pool, but you cannot watch the game from the hot tub at Rutgers. But good luck to them. Jalen Rose, when we last spoke about the Ball family, it was Lonzo Ball slandering Nas. But now there's a new wrinkle. LaMelo Ball has his own signature shoe, which brings into question his eligibility in the NCAA. Someone asked LeVar Ball about this, and he said, quote, NCAA ain't going to tell me bleep because they're not my boss. Do you think that this will potentially keep LaMelo Ball from playing in the NCAA?
Not at all.
Interesting.
This is one of the more unique situations that the NCAA will have to deal with because of a couple of reasons. All LaMelo has to do, between the fact that his father and his family has a company, Big Baller Brand, that's going to be making money. He has a brother in the NBA. That was a lottery pick. And also his dad is barnstorming being on television every time he can to get paid.
Yep.
Whether it's wrestling, reality shows, or whatnot. He can still go play basketball at UCLA.
It boils down to this.
Except.
What?
Just not accept the scholarship.
Well, there's that.
He can walk on.
Well, I'm not sure it's that simple, but there's also Darren Rovell, one of our colleagues. He had a very sort of eloquent and articulate statement about this, but it basically breaks down to you just can't get paid. So his story is going to be like, oh yeah, that Lamborghini and me being in those commercials and what I do for the Baller Brand, that is all just volunteer work for me, and I don't get compensated for any of it at the moment. And legally, he might be able to pull that off. But what do you think about his overall confidence about everything?
I'm not mad at the confidence because I recall myself being somebody that helped bring to form a term called irrational confidence.
Okay.
Because if you don't believe in yourself, Who else is going to believe in you? It's only 450 jobs in the NBA. And there are a lot of people that are dribbling basketballs and praying to get one of them. So I understand it. But the other part of it is he's going to have people coming at his neck. Now, that's the gift and the curse. That can make you better or it can make you fold. It's kind of early to detect what level of prospect he's going to be as a senior. Is he going to be the number one player in the country? Would he be ready to come straight out of high school and go to the NBA, thus having to still go to college, possibly walk on, pay his own way? He's not going overseas. So you can see a situation where maybe he works out all year.
Who knows?
Trying to maintain his draft stock like some football players have done once they've gotten injured. It'd be really unique to see. But here's the other thing I want to say.
Can we move on from the Ball family, Jalen?
No, I got to point out something that's really important. How many sons do they have?
3.
We just don't talk about the other one that's going to UCLA.
Leangelo's going to be at UCLA. We will talk about him if he performs well in college. We are now going to talk about something much more important, and that is Sam Decker's sink. Over the weekend, Sam Decker's sink was broken, and guess who fixed it? Aaron Rodgers going to fix Sam Decker's sink. Jalen, if you had to fix a sink, could you?
No.
I couldn't either. I tried to fix my sink once. It took me like 3 days and like 600 trips to the hardware store.
All I know is talk about being sunk. How about Aaron Rodgers scrambling, throwing a Hail Mary against my Lions? Did you see how Megatron fell to his knees? That's in the sunken place.
Phillip Rivers is now playing in Los Angeles, lives in San Diego, and for his commute, he has decked out an SUV with a 40-inch screen, first-class style lean-back recliners, and a refrigerator. And he says he's watching film on his commute to and from Los Angeles. Jalen Rose, what % of the time do you think he's actually watching film in there?
Well, it's the offseason, so right now, only a couple of percentage of the time. And something that you can relate to. This should be your idol, Jacoby. Just think about it like this. He has multiple kids.
8 kids.
He gets a chance to be in the car for at least 2.5 hours. He's not in a minivan. What do you think he's doing?
Oh, here's the thing. I'm taking the scenic route. I'm telling him to drive by the coast. I'm not even coming home. I'm going to show up at home like, oh, long day. At 10 p.m. And in the last 6 hours, I've been drinking my adult beverages out of the fridge, lean back, taking a nap in the first class seat that I've got. I'll watch 10 minutes of film so anyone asks me if I watch film on the way home, I can say yes definitively. But I'm going to spend the rest of the time catching up on Power, your favorite show that I need to binge watch very soon. I'm not watching any film, and I don't think he is either. Let's be honest. He's not watching film, Jalen.
He's not watching film. He wouldn't do such a thing.
If you call 985-80-JALEN, you can leave us a voicemail. If you leave us a voicemail, we will play it on the show. Ladies, don't forget, tomorrow is Woman Crush Wednesday. We need you to call in. We need female voicemails. We need to celebrate the superior gender. So we'll do that tomorrow. Today, we're just going to have voicemails. Let's listen.
You'll get the people what they want. Reggie, what up, player? Come on, man. Get me on there. This is Luke, Western Colorado, calling in with another question. J&J, I got a question for you guys. I'm over here in Western Colorado. I'm in a small town by the name of Parachute, okay? And where I'm from in this little town of about 5,000, it's not at all uncommon, and it's something I do frequently and regularly, is to kind of wave at other people when I'm driving. In many cases, it's a person who I don't know. Just seems like the right thing to do. Just kind of waving at strangers. And based on some discussions and things I've heard you guys have about, when the Uber driver wants to talk to you, things like that. What I'm wondering is waving at people that you don't know out of just courtesy, would you define that as something that is cultural or regional or maybe a little bit of both? Thanks for the information, fellas. Have a great Labor Day weekend. Keep getting them checks.
I love this call.
All I really want is to be happy.
I love this. Luke makes me happy. I want to hang out with Luke. Next live show, Parachute, Colorado. That's it. It'll just be me, Jalen, the staff, and Luke, and just some people that are walking by being like, what's going on in there? At the town hall or wherever it happens in Parachute.
Hey, Luke, if this will make you feel better, sometimes I get into my feelings, and I'm one of the people that walks through the workplace or just out and about in public. If I catch eye contact with people, I nod my head or say what's up or try to give them some sort of pleasantry. I don't necessarily physically wave.
I like
just
it, though.
because I'm 6'8" and I got long arms and pretty big hands.
He's driving. Now, I once went to this island in Maine. And it's a small island, small community where everybody kind of knew each other. And what they did is they did this too. It was tradition. If you passed a car on the road, you would just kind of put 2 or 3 fingers up just to acknowledge them. It was one of those places where if you pass somebody on the sidewalk, you give them a nod or a hello. As someone who's spent a lot of time in New York City, that makes me particularly uncomfortable. But to answer your direct question, Luke in Western Colorado, shout out to Parachute, it is a little bit regional and a little bit cultural. More regional than cultural. You know, in metropolitan areas, this sort of thing doesn't happen. You know, unless you're in like Venice or Santa Monica or a beach community where everyone's all happy all the time and has no jobs. But still, like, this only happens more regional than cultural. If you're in a place where there aren't too many people and life is kind of slow and everyone's happy and has good attitudes and is just loving life, you can get a wave or a nod. For me, I don't like extended eye contact with strangers when I'm walking down the street. I just don't like extended eye contact.
That's a little weird.
I don't like extended eye contact. Like if you look at me and then you don't look away and you stay looking and then I stay looking and you don't say something and I don't say something, I feel like what is happening? Like what is it? Like, exactly. Yes, exactly. Thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it, Luke. I loved your attitude. You made me happy on this Friday. Let's listen on this Tuesday. I don't even know what day it is. Let's listen to another voicemail.
What's going on, Jalen Jacoby? This is John hollering at y'all all the way from Birmingham, Alabama. I have a really important question. Been a fan of the pod for 3 years. Love y'all's show. Really important question. Just like you guys, I'm a huge fan of chicken wings. Love them. Now, my personal flavor is the lemon pepper. But apparently my friends have told me that lemon pepper is a cultural thing. So I want to ask you guys, specifically Mr. Jalen Rose, I would like your input on this. Are lemon pepper wings cultural? I'm going to eat them anyway, but I want my curiosity sated for its sake. Anyway, keep it up. Shout out to Reggie. Love you guys. Have a good day.
A couple of things. Lemon pepper wings are universal.
They're universal. Don't you cannot put the cultural stamp on that. I will not have that on this program.
No question. That's almost like any slander of Sam Jackson or LeVar Ball will not be tolerated on this program in any way, shape, or form. Don't ask us why. So the one thing, however, as you relate to chicken that I have to ask you, Jacoby, that may be cultural is, when you order them, do you get them well done? I do.
Oh, well, I order everything well done. I just don't trust kitchens. As someone who worked in a kitchen, I don't trust kitchens. You would much rather have something with a little extra char on it than something a little underdone, no matter what it is in the world. So order everything well done. And that being said, but I'll tell you what is kind of cultural, and I learned this from talking to people that work at restaurants and wait staff. I've had conversations about this. Being specific of whether you want all drums or all flats. That's something that I have. This isn't me. This is research I have conducted, that I have been told by wait staff that being specific about exactly what type of wing you want, whether it be drums or flats, I've heard is cultural, and I have taken that into my thing, and I always ask for all flats. If you had all drums or all flats, which would you go with?
If I had to choose between the two, I'll take the flats.
Thank you. Flats,
but I
flats all day.
appreciate both.
Of course. Please, I'm not sending the drums back if they make a mistake. I'm eating them. I'm not even going to bring it up. I'm not even going to bring it up. But there's two types of people in the world, drum people and flat people. I'm a flat person. The world is flat, according to Kyrie as well. Let's listen to another voicemail.
Very nice.
Yo, Jalen Jacoby. This is Sam in Iowa City. Listen to you guys every day on the pod while I'm out delivering pizzas. Calling you today on my birthday. Not only is it my birthday, it's my 21st birthday. And for that, I got a couple questions for you. Looking for some birthday advice. Don't get fired. And soft move or boss move, buying yourself a birthday present. I myself got myself a couple pairs of shoes for my birthday. All right, give the people what they want. Keep getting those checks.
Sam, that's a boss move. You know, treat yourself. One thing I do when I go Christmas shopping, I shop for myself first. Like, I'll leave the house, like, I'm going to spend some money today. I definitely shop for myself first, and then I'm like, wait, how many kids do I have? Like, all right, let me make a list, and let me take care of that. Like, another thing that I want to say, Sam, the pizza delivery gig is a great gig, you know? Because a lot of people listen to this, they're in their cubicles, they got their boss looking over their shoulder, you know what I mean? Or like they're kind of like they had direct management. When you're out in the pizza delivery world, you're kind of on your own. And you know what? Maybe it's only 15 minutes away, but the boss doesn't know if it took 25 minutes. Maybe you pulled over at a gas station and made a couple phone calls, took a nap or whatever. But definitely buy yourself a present.
But a couple of things. This is why I'm wishing that the driverless vehicle doesn't become a real thing. Takes away jobs from individuals.
I mean, they do have driverless pizza delivery vehicles that they're putting into the market, but me and you sniffed this whole problem out. You're asking me to what? Like, I've got stairs before my sidewalk. I have to walk down the stairs and then to the sidewalk. How does a driverless vehicle find a parking spot? Like, I have a lot of questions about how this works.
Right, they're going to blindly fling the piece at the door like a newspaper.
Yeah, like it's a Frisbee or something. Like, I don't know how this is supposed to work. Sam, thank you so much for the call. One thing I love about these calls now is people have just stopped asking us about sports. You know,
right?
They just stopped asking us about sports. They've just got real life questions. So let's listen to one more voicemail.
What's going on, guys? It's Blake. Glad to have you guys back from your vacation. And I have a question for Jalen. Jalen, I know you like free stuff, but my question is, what would be the hardest free clothing item for you to wear? Would it be an Ohio State hoodie, a Make America Great Again hat, or an I Hate Cameron t-shirt? I figure those would all be pretty difficult. So let me know. Keep giving the people what they want.
Blake trying to get us in trouble.
Well, I feel like Giancarlo Stanton right now.
Did you see the video?
I did see the video. You like that example, right?
Research for the show. Research for the show.
You like that one, right? For those that don't listen every day, just Google it. So with that being said, a couple of things. The reason why I'm feeling like him is a guy that's possibly on the verge to break the second most home runs in league history. I know he don't want to acknowledge Barry Bonds' 73, but that high score is up there. You got to take it down.
Yeah, then Mark and Sammy, it'll be more like the fourth, but I got you.
Okay, that's one. So two, he was having fun laying on the bed. Three, now, I'm never wearing anything that's going to slander Cameron in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, so that's off the board. We're not going to discuss.
That's off the board.
We're not going to discuss the hat, Jalen, because I love my job and my family needs this money.
Okay, I will wear an Ohio State hat before I wear a 45 hat. This dude's selling his own gear?
Thanks so much for all the calls.
You know this dude's selling those hats?
I have an announcement. Jalen Rose is already gone. I love these segments. These are my favorite segments of the show, is when Jalen is not here, when it's just me and you, the people, because we have a simple motto on this program. And part of giving the people what they want is finding out what the people want. With Jalen gone, it'll just be me. Thank God. And we've got some really great questions. This is from Zuwap. Smoochie Convert wants to know, at what age are you officially too old to be wearing throwback jerseys and Jordans? There's a lot to unpack here. Because as someone who actually wore throwback jerseys and couldn't really afford Jordans at the time but would have worn them, that was part of what was in fashion when I was 21 years old. So I say, sticking with what is in your era, you are never too old for that. You will look funny and you will be judged, but if it is part of your era, then you can wear it forever. I think you really run into problems when you try to stay up with the current trends. You know, I think other people really look good with holes in their jeans and their jeans tight. I think they look good, but they're also 25 years old. When you're 39 and you're carrying around twins, you can't be wearing the holes in the jeans on purpose and the Kanye West boots that look like military boots. Like, you don't run into problems when you stay in your own lane. You don't run into problems when you wear what you have always worn. That's not the problem, Zuwap. The problem is when you try to adapt. You try to evolve. And you become the old guy at the club wearing what everybody else is wearing. I think people look great wearing slippers and their ankles out and their jeans pegged. But just not me, because I'm old. Thank you for the question, Zuwap. Next, we've got Tej. This is a great question for me. If not for basketball, what would Jalen Rose be doing right now? I don't know. Leaving the radio show early? Most likely. This is from Anthony.
Shout out.
What would be your reaction if Lonzo slandered the Wu-Tang Clan? See, I'm putting that right on par with Lonzo slandering Nas. Lonzo Ball, in his reality television program on Facebook, in the first episode, called Nas outdated and said no one listens to that anymore. Migos and Future are what's hot. And he's not wrong. He's not wrong. Reggie's going to put the booze on there, and I totally understand why. But he's not wrong. He's just not showing proper respect to the forefathers. And I would also categorize the Wu-Tang Clan and Nas in the same category. I understand what he is saying. I understand that right now Future is going to sell out more arenas than Wu-Tang Clan and Nas. But that doesn't mean you have to disrespect them on wax. Don't forget, ladies, tomorrow is Woman Crush Wednesday. Every Wednesday we celebrate the women around the world in our lives, in sports and pop culture. And one of the ways we do so is by doing an all-female voicemail segment. So if you, ladies, call in to 985-80-JALEN and leave us your voicemails, we'll be doing all-female voicemails tomorrow. So make sure to represent.
Shout out.
Next question that we have is for me. How are you celebrating Lance Stephenson's birthday? I had no idea it was his birthday today. No idea it was Lance's birthday. I have confused, mixed feelings about Lance Stephenson. As much as I love him on the basketball court, he has done some things off the basketball court that I cannot fully support. And I'm not just talking about that terrible song he put out last week and the terrible song he put out the week before that. But I'm so excited for Lance to be like the number one option on the Pacers next year. There's no one that supports the Pacers or works at the Pacers was happy about them trading Paul George for Oladipo and Sabonis, except for Lance. Lance was like, wait, more time and more shots for me? Like when we need a bucket, when there's 6 seconds left on the clock and we need a bucket, I get the ball? Couldn't be happier. Next question that we have is from Corey. He said, Jalen versus Jacoby in 3-on-3. Who would you both choose as teammates? No current NBA players. Well, that's a funny question. Because obviously, you could just go the straight, easy route and just pick the best 2 college players or whatever. But that's no fun. I'll tell you exactly who I'm taking. Number 1, because I'm playing Jalen and his team. So I'm going to get inside Jalen's head. I have the perfect 2-2 to work. Great basketball players that will also just emotionally manipulate Jalen into falling apart. Because so much of physical performance is mental. I know who my 2 players are. You ready, Reg? I'm taking Skylar Diggins and Chris Webber. Boom. There's nothing Jalen could do. I don't care who he brings. I got Skylar Diggins and Chris Webber. There's absolutely no chance that I'm losing that game. Appreciate that question. Riley or Rayleigh wants to know.
Shout out.
Adding a Magic Van vanity plate to your minivan, soft move or boss move? I don't judge what other people do so much. You know, it doesn't, like, if it doesn't affect me, like whatever happens across the street is fine. If it doesn't affect what's happening on my side of the street. So if you want to have a vanity plate, if you want to write Magic Van on it, you want me to see it, you want to drive around with that, you want to spend that extra money. I think it's not just a one-time cost, too. I think you have to, like, re-up the vanity plate or something. Go ahead and do it. But you know what? David Jacoby, no chance do I want a vanity plate. Makes you too recognizable. And I wouldn't put Magic Van on it. Because anyone that drives a minivan knows that the magic is behind them. It's that simple. The magic's behind them. The magic is what got you in the minivan in the first place. Our producer, John Lawrence, put this on the screen. Now, mind you, this is our producer in Bristol, so he's the one who's closest to the executives, closest to, like, us making sure that we don't step over the line. That's one of his jobs. And he said in my ear, look at the screen, just so I could look at this question. And then he says, the question literally says this, and I'll read it because I can't get in trouble. What about truck nuts? I think truck nuts are kind of funny. In a jokey way. That's like a nice little joke Christmas gift. Finally, Corey has a question. Pull back the curtain. What kind of changes could come with the new Rockets owner? Should Harden and CP3 be concerned? First of all, Harden just signed a $400 bazillion contract. He's not going anywhere. He just committed to being in Houston for life, so he shouldn't be concerned about anything. CP3 shouldn't be concerned. The new owner should be more concerned about CP3 leaving, because CP3 can sign an extension, one of those Supermax extensions. Remember, CP3 was one of the people in the negotiation that made it possible for him to sign one of those Supermax extensions. But I'm not so sure he will sign it with the Rockets. Our heart and love goes out to the city of Houston. Thank you so much for listening to Jalen and Jacoby. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast. Go to your DVR series, Manage Us on ESPN2. We're on every single night, Monday through Friday. Ladies, don't forget, tomorrow is Woman Crush Wednesday. If you call 985-80-JALEN, you leave us a voicemail, and we will play your voicemail tomorrow on the show, because every Wednesday we celebrate the women in our lives. We took Labor Day off. We'll be off on Thursday as well, but we'll be back tomorrow, Wednesday, and we'll be back Friday.
We're not done. We're not done.
Shout out.